First, we start with some big news coming out of the Middle East, where Hamas terror groups has reportedly responded to President Trump's 20-point peace plan. And joining me now is Washington Stand reporter Casey Harper, who's been following this as well as other stories. Casey, what are the headlines telling us right now?
Well, that's right, Jody. This is a big development. The day started off with a clear message from President Trump sent on Truth Social. He gave Hamas a firm deadline. Accept this 20-point peace plan by Sunday evening, or you're going to face some unprecedented consequences. Now, Trump's peace plan, it includes an immediate ceasefire, full hostage release, importantly, the disarming of Hamas, and a transitional government. Well, breaking news, Hamas has now responded. In a rare shift, the group says they are open to a prisoner exchange and even handing over Gaza's administration to a nonpartisan Palestinian Authority with backing from Arab leaders. Now, Hamas appears to support a ceasefire and Israeli withdrawal, of course, but it continues to reject some long-term accountability, and they are insisting on broader issues that be handled through internal Palestinian channels. So critics say that this is actually just a tactical move to buy time rather than a genuine step forward for peace. But, details are still coming out in this major development, Jody.
Wow, really is big news, and we'll certainly be unpacking this more as the program unfolds. In fact, Dr. A.J. Nolte of Regent University will be joining me. But Casey, let me turn now to some more domestic news, specifically the government shutdown, which I mentioned a while ago is now in its third day, and it appears that lawmakers at a total standstill. The Democrats pushing for more expansion of Obamacare subsidies, and the Republicans digging their heels in, saying, no, we're not going there. So what's the latest on the government shutdown?
Yeah, Jody. Well, Republicans are saying enough is enough. And Senate Majority Leader John Thune, who you played at the top of the show, he said today at a press conference that Democrats are effectively holding funding hostage with their $1.5 trillion spending demand.
Their partisan proposal demands more money, think about this, more money than our entire defense budget just to keep the government open for 4 weeks. That's not a credible proposal. It's a far-left wish list.
Well, meanwhile, President Trump, he's taken a hard line on spending, Jody. He's already frozen funds to Democrat projects in blue states, and he's pushing to streamline the federal workforce. Essential services are still running, but the shutdown will leave about 2 million federal workers without pay. Now, 2 Senate votes failed today, which all but guarantees that through this weekend, we're not going to reach a deal, Jody.
Wow. So it continues. Let me ask you this. More domestic news. We've all been watching a lot, Casey, on the attacks taking place on various ICE facilities, I think in Chicago and Portland. What are you hearing on those issues? What's happening with ICE?
Yeah, Jody, tensions are ratcheting up. So protests outside a Chicago ICE facility, they turned violent earlier today, and there was actually at least 12 arrests. Now, this is the 5th consecutive week of demonstrations just like this one. In Portland, federal officials are reporting over 100 nights of attacks on their ICE building in the city, and those attacks are getting worse. That includes bottle rockets, shattered windows, and threats against staff. And the local police aren't doing very much about it because of the obvious politics involved. Now, the ICE director, understandably, he's calling the situation frustrating as the violence and the harassment continue to rise.
Wow, so much going on. Let me give you one more, Casey. Hearing a lot about what's happening in China. The recent report coming out saying that China is literally making billions and billions by forcing ethnic minorities into labor camps and a host of other trafficking type scenarios. What are the headlines telling us about this right now?
Yeah, sure. So the State Department, they released their 2025 report, and it names China among the worst human rights abusers, putting them right up there with Iran, Russia, and North Korea. So China, they're driving a brutal state-run system. They target the Uyghurs and other minorities, and they put them into forced labor and mass detention. So the Chinese Communist Party, they're profiting off this, though, to the tune of billions of dollars by forcing these minorities into labor camps, and they're calling it, a poverty alleviation plan. But these abuses, Jody, are tied directly to global supply chains, which is raising the question, are U.S. companies benefiting from the Chinese Communist Party's cruelty? And that's why the Trump administration is cracking down on this. They're expanding the sectors of the economy that are prevented from using this Uyghur forced labor under the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act.
Wow. Really, really a disturbing story in every way. In fact, we'll be discussing more about that with David Clausen a little bit later. Casey, thanks so much. Appreciate you giving us the headlines in a nutshell.
Thanks, Jody.